This episode is powered by Anivia Pickleball. Based in the heart of Vancouver, BC, whether you're new to the game or a seasoned vet, they have the paddle for you. I myself am currently using their Voltex Gen 3 Pro, which comes in both mid and lightweight. A big thank you for the team at Anivia for taking a chance on me in this podcast. And for listeners of the podcast, if you enter AGorman15 at checkout, you get 15% off. Check out Anivia.com now. That's AGORMAN 15 at checkout. On with the show. Welcome back, everyone. We're back for our review of the CNPL Eastern Split. How's it going, Victor?
Good. How's everyone doing? So has been a pretty good weekend, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there were some really, really good matches. I really enjoyed it. I was like, my brain was melted after day one, though. I was like watching so many matches, trying to write down notes and stuff. I even made an incorrect post, which I had to type in an apology to the Brewers. I put them as 1 and 3. After day one, they were actually 2 and 2. So after I'd made the post on Instagram, I was like, "Oh, apologies, they were 2 and 2." So, just because I had like nothing left in my mind after.
Well, it's draining. Is a lot. That's a lot of match, and there's 3 streams. So you're like at my house, because I have multiple screens. I was putting all basically those 3 screens on my computer, on my TV, and stuff like that. And I was like, oh man, then I just like, you know what? I have to focus on one, because otherwise I'm not even following anything.
Yeah, basically what I would do is I'd go one game for one game. I'd watch the CBC one. I'd watch one match, and I'd jump over to 2. Watch one match, jump back over to CBC, watch. So I was a little bit behind by the end of the day, but it was like, I'm like, okay, at least then I can focus on each match. Then by day 2, my brain was so fried. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna sit and watch like one whole one, and then I kind of sped watch to kind of see how the scores were for some of the other ones until I saw like certain things happening, and then I would slow down and watch the full match. But oh man, it was so much to watch, and there were so many good games out of it. But for my first takeaways, so yeah, like we said, there was the three streams this time instead of the 2 like they had last year. So the games got pushed through a lot quicker. Obviously the biggest complaints is Court 2 and Court 3 didn't have any commentary, and they were having lots of technical issues with getting the scoreboard up and running properly. Like I know there was one match there where I think the first match was like Rollers and Pronghorns, and then there were 2 matches later, and it was still saying Rollers versus Pronghorns on the thing. So it's not a huge deal for me, but because you could hear the ref most of the time anyway shouting out the score. But that'll be something for them to fix. But there's always going to be glitches, especially when you're first time trying to run 3 streams at the same time. So
yeah, but at the same time, to be honest with you, they're running pretty flawlessly. If you're comparing to the PPA that have glitches on every freaking time, and they have just running 1 streams, I'm giving kudos to the CNPL more than PPA, which technically has more fundings, and they should be doing better, and we're still not getting the quality.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. Like, the video footage was good. There was instant replays on all 3 streams. So yeah, so aside from like, and that's me being greedy now. I was like, I want commentary on all of it because I like listening to the commentary as well. But you only have so much, and and also for the Court 2 and Court 3, there wasn't as much space to have commentators sitting in there.
Yeah.
Whereas you had kind of like the booth at the showcase court. So, but other than that, I thought the streams were pretty good. Each team got decent viewage on the showcase court with the commentary, and then on the other courts. So on the technical standpoint, anything else that you saw, Victor?
Yeah, I just saw some of the streams, especially when they're putting the kitchen cam. The referee was in the way a lot of the time, so I was like, could it maybe they could have done better, like have the like I know they put two referee in order to have more accurate calls and stuff like that, but can one of the referee be a little bit like further back or something, so the cameras not being like just the referee not in the way of the the camera, because otherwise you can sometimes barely see, okay, where's the other guy team doing on the things, because now the referee's in the way. So that could it done better, because you already have the other referee there watching. So it's okay to actually pull back maybe the second referee just a little bit further, so the camera have a free view of both sides. And usually you want to have that as your main kind of main camera, because both of the like kind of dinking and the speed up, you want to see those, and those are the most entertaining part, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and all it would take is like propping the kitchen cam up a little bit and having that referee back up so they're like right under it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not obstructing the view. So yeah, so that's I noticed they actually on the second day they started moving the head ref, especially on the shake course, to the offside, and then had the other ref in there, so it was a little bit better for it. They still were in the way a little bit, but I noticed that they made that adjustment at least on the showcase court on the second day. And then so if we go like, well, I'll jump into day one just because that was the one where I took like the most notes on. So we had the Lions came out flying.
Yeah.
It looked like Ernesto and Luis Charles weren't going to be beat in their first couple of matches. The Lions finished with a 3-1 record on day one. Luis Charles and Ernesto looked like nobody was going to beat them right up until they ran into the Pronghorns, where Brad and then Michael McCaffrey dragged them into that slow dink game, and eventually took the win. And then the Pronghorns ended up taking the win for the whole game. But that was by far my favorite men's match. Was that Pronghorns versus Lions on day one, just because it was like that unstoppable force meets an immovable object. And shout out to McCaffrey, because he's the alternate for the Pronghorns, and he came in and he matched Brad's resets and stuff to perfection with that. Like when Brad was playing with Jeff Elwood, Jeff is more of a speed up, kind of more powerhouse guy, whereas Michael's more of that defensive stalwart, kind of like how Brad is. So I'm interested to see, because a lot of the teams were rotating in their alternate slot to see what they had to work with. So I'll be interested to see if the Pronghorns starts playing Michael with Brad, depending on who they're playing. Like if they're going to play the Lions, maybe stick Michael in there. But if they're playing a team that's a little bit more passive, stick Jeff in there to add a little bit of extra power. Like you might see a lot more strategic lineups as the events go on. Because there was only 3 teams that didn't bring any subs: the Rush, the Smash, and the Lions. And to be honest, you noticed it on day 2. Because like the Rush ran into the issue with Sophia getting injured, and then they had to bring in Haley, who technically wasn't even drafted. She was at the Western qualifiers, but she came because she's actually Joe Williamson's I think girlfriend or fiance. Okay. So she was there, and like she was eligible to be an alternate because of course she was in the draft, but the fact that they didn't bring any other alternates even on the men's side, so they didn't bring Eugene Mack. And you started to see it as they started to wear down. The same thing happened with the Smash. The announcers were talking about how Del Beer was suffering from like a stiff back on day 2, and you could see it in his mobility.
Yeah, you can really see it was pretty obvious, and people was targeting him, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then even with the Montreal Lions, you saw like Ernesto and Luis Charles start to slow down on day 2, because even though they finished with a 6-3 record, they went 3-1 the first day, but they went 3-2 the second day, and there was a lot closer matchups on the men's side. They weren't blowing everybody out again, type of thing. It was a lot closer. So I'm interested to see if those 3 teams kind of learn from that for the next event and bring in the alternates to make sure. Like obviously with the Smash, they don't really have the female alternate because Leah Bradwell's injured. Yeah, but I would have brought Daho over from BC, their alternate male, and even if you just sub him in for like Dalbier for one game and even Nathan for one game type of thing, just to get that rotation in, and if you do it against a team that like you think you're not going to have a problem with, then you're not really sacrificing anything, right? Like, and the whole point of drafting these extra players was to provide that rest for your main forward. Right? So, and then and like I said, you started to see that with the teams that were rotating. A lot of those teams had a better second day.
Agree,
Right?
and
Like,
then it was noticeable, quite noticeable. Then they're still not 100% fresh as first day, but still fresher than the ones that does not have alternate basically.
Yeah, like, and if you want to give one team props, the Toronto United team for sure looked a lot better day two after kind of figuring out their combinations, because they finished the first day 1-3, but they ended up finishing the whole week at
4-5.
At 4-5, right? So they got 2 more wins there, and all their matches were a lot closer. Right, so they kind of started to figure out their systems. Now, I will say so I'll go through kind of each team for what I noticed as kind of like the more outstanding, the person who probably needs to work on their game a little bit. So we can start with we'll start with the Lions. So Ernesto by far is the powerhouse on that team. And I know, so like, and we like kind of how we predicted, the men are really, really strong. The women, it's more so they're green, right? Like, they're not horrible by any means. They're still pretty good players, but I really noticed that's where their fall was. And the first day, because Ernesto and Luis Charles were playing so well, even in mixed, they were making up for that. Like, when Ernesto was playing with his mixed partner, he was taking like 90% of the court and like really shielding her from the other team. Like, the other team, you could see, was trying to get her in, like, try to attack her more, and he was just stepping over and trying and just powering it back at them. But then by day two, they were starting to get at her more, and that was Anne Sophie. That was they were picking on her a lot, like on the women's side. And it was funny because the women's team, they originally had Anne Sophie on the left and Jade Cassandra on the right, and then they made the switch after game one because they weren't playing very well. And with Jade Cassandra on the left, they were playing a little bit more solid, I found, anyways. On the women's side, they still were probably one of the weaker women's teams there.
They're not the top tier women's team at all.
No, right? But like we said, we kind of called that. Like, we just when we made our picks, we were like, hey, we're sticking the Lions somewhere around the top. But you had them, I think, at the top, and I had them kind of like third or fourth.
Yeah, something like that.
Because we knew how strong the men's team was, but we were like, okay, well, how much are they able to adjust the gap between them and their female team, right? So the first day they handled it really, really well. They still finished with the second best record, but you could see the other teams starting to pick on that, especially on day two, a little bit more, right? So
yeah, I did put Lions first, and you actually put Lions somewhere else. I think
I had them like
Lions at fifth. Yeah, you put it
fifth. Fourth, fifth. I had them right in that little kind of middle categories because like I wasn't sure with the males. Now we're both going to take a mulligan on the Toronto United team, because when we made those picks, that was including Hannah Blatt on the team.
Yeah,
and of course we found out after that Hannah is not going to be able to play. She's her contract with the MLP doesn't allow her to. So that took that and like Toronto United, that's a huge shot. And then they had to make that the signing last minute for their third female. So it was kind of like, okay, now Carolina Hack, instead of being that very, very good kind of steady sidekick to sidekick's not the right word, but you know what I mean, like the defensive player,
supporting player, basically.
Yeah, like supporting player to hand. Now she has to become the powerhouse,
the alpha.
Yeah, right, female. The alpha female. And you could see there was an adjustment period there with the other two, with Joanna Fang and I'm forgetting the other lady's name just because they signed her really late. But between the two of them rotating in with Carolina, you could see they were trying to adjust to kind of figure out, okay, like Carolina needs to take more shots, especially when it was the women's doubles game. You wanted her to assert herself a little bit more, whereas before she was used to being kind of like that steady defensive stalwart and allowing Hannah to go ham, right? So now that's a big adjustment for her. And as someone who's had to do that when playing with different male partners, and then playing with Irene, whereas me and Irene are very kind of equal opportunity with that. Whereas if I play like one of the tournaments I played in, the other male player I played with was more of a reset guy, whereas because I'm known as like the steady guy, I had to start asserting myself more and being the one taking more of those power shots, right? So it does take an adjustment, and like I found by the end of day 2, they had kind of found a better rhythm, and that's why they got themselves up to that 4-5 record instead of just getting stuck at that 1-3. So
Well, how about what's your take about Matt Kawamoto's performance?
it was interesting because I thought the first day Mark Godfrey didn't play very well, and Matt was almost trying to overcompensate for that. And it was kind of the same thing on the female side because he was so used to playing with Hannah, where him and Hannah almost played like how me and Irene play, where it was like, okay, you go ahead and go ham on this one, I'll go ahead and go ham on this one, type of thing like that. Whereas now he's like, okay, I have to be fully assertive. And I think even when he plays outside of the CNPL, he's playing with his sister Jessica.
Yeah.
And Jessica, of course, is also very assertive. Right,
Mhm.
like she's very defensive, but she's also very, very assertive. So I think Matthew's always been he's always been used to playing with a very assertive female player.
Mhm.
So now with him having basically all 3 of his options are more defensive-minded female players, so he has to start asserting himself more. And I think it took him a bit to kind of get used to that. And then like even while I'm watching the men's doubles with him and Mark, like Mark was making a ton of like uncharacteristic mistakes on that first day. And even when he was playing his like because his double team with him and Carolina like last year, they were one of the best doubles teams
Yeah.
in the league. And like that first day they were not playing well, but Mark was like popping balls up. He was getting body bagged. Like I think he just had an off weekend. And it was almost like Matthew was then trying to overcompensate for that. Of course, if you once you start overcompensating, then you're going to make more mistakes. So like I don't know how to like the Toronto United team, like the fact that they managed to pull themselves to that 4-5 record by the end of the day, I got hopes for them.
Mhm.
And it was kind of like that first day they were almost figuring stuff out. And then of course, if some of your best players aren't having a good day, then
Yeah,
that's
then you're
hard to figure stuff out, right? Because like I know me and Irene were sitting watching the games, and me and her both kind of looked at each other like, what's going on with Mark? Like he doesn't normally make those mistakes. He doesn't normally miss those shots. Like especially when you watched him in the finals last year, right?
yeah,
Like,
he was solid.
him and Matthew were killing it, and same with him and Carolina as a pair, right? So it was interesting to see that, and then at least they had that shot of energy from Chris Elaine coming in because Chris came in and he played very, very well.
Mhm.
And when he played with Matt, I thought that meshed better.
Yes.
Than when he played with Mark. So like if you're gonna sub Chris Elaine in, say on the next event, I would give Mark a break and sub him in and to play with Matt. And because I thought they had
Chris,
better chemistry than him and Mark had chemistry.
yeah, and Chris bring a different dynamic too, right? So he's a I won't say he's a full offensive player, but he can bring the powerhouse in there as needed, right? So and he and sometimes a little bit the same thing when I first play on the Charcoal League. No one was driving like me on a ladder, and then suddenly you have someone that's driving like crazy on the league instead of all you thinking all the time. That brings like a special dynamic into the game, and then the other team suddenly cannot it forces the other team to make adjustment. And if they during those rally scoring, that you do not have a lot of time, you don't adjust, it's game over.
No, exactly. Yeah, and we noticed that like there was a lot of games where a team jumped out to like a freaking 18 to like 7. And like if it wasn't for the freeze, like there was still some games that finished like a 21-12, a 21-10.
Yeah.
I think there was one game that finished a 21-9 at one point, right? Like
Yeah.
and just because the teams couldn't make an adjustment.
Well, I was just looking some of the match of Ernesto was pretty bad, to be honest with you. Some of the games they're like blowing out so many teams, and and Ernesto's like barely like putting effort on top of that, like how he's playing. So you're like, oh, okay, there's a big gap.
Yeah, exactly, right. And then if we go over to like the Wolverines,
Mhm.
so Shout out to Sabrina Lamb. She established herself as the best female on that team.
Nice.
For those of you who don't remember when we did the draft review, Sabrina finished second to Irene in rankings at the Western qualifier, and she was one of my picks to say like, hey, if Irene's not going to get picked, she should get picked. I don't know how many freaking resets, and so like Sheila was a defensive stalwart. Whenever she played mix, and there's that big highlight going around now where Nathan Choi smashed the ball so hard that he deflated it. She returned
Everyone, she
returned two of those before the ball broke, right? So I was just like, holy crap! Like, but
is it because is this because of the paddle that she's using, the owl paddle?
The owl paddle, maybe for the returns, and the reason why the ball broke is because of this paddle, because that's what Nathan was using. Right?
Yeah, I know. Maybe your paddle.
I'll shoot my own shot with the company that sponsors me right there, the Anivia.
There you go.
But no, like I was very, very impressed. Like the first couple of games, you could see it was an adjustment, just like for a lot of the newer females. But she settled in very, very quickly. The other two females on the team there, you could see it took a little bit longer to adjust, and they were rotating to kind of figure out what combinations worked with, like, not just with Sabrina, but with like Joelle Haddo and even with Jonas getting in a lot. And Jonas actually played very, very good. You could tell he's been going to the States and playing in a bunch of 5-0 tournaments because he is so much better than what he was last year.
Nice. Good.
But and then like I said, like with Sabrina, no matter which male she played with, it was a good pairing. Like it was by far going to be the best pairing of when they put out their two mixed teams. So like, and if I were to pick like if I was to pick, I'd have Sabrina there. Obviously, you'd have Joelle and Haddo as the starting pair, and then I would probably stick Sabrina with Haddo just because I find her game blends with Haddo's a little bit better, and because Joelle's more of a powerhouse for him to take over a little bit more of the court if the other two ladies still have trouble adjusting. At least then he's more used to taking like that 80-20, 90-10 kind of court share, right? So that's how I would do it for the Wolverines. But I also noticed that Joelle didn't play as much.
I was about to ask, like the men's part, like their men's double didn't do that well, unfortunately.
No, well, and they were rotating because I don't like Joelle and Haddo. I think only played together twice. Every other time they were rotating Jonas and them. Like I know every game I watched, I think I watched only one game where they were both playing together. And then it was either Jonas and Haddo or Jonas and Joelle. So I don't know, maybe because they were in Toronto, they were giving Jonas more playtime. Maybe he's not going to make it out to a Western split or something like that. And like I said, Jonas played pretty well, but yeah, the Wolverines, you could see there was a big drop off. Like you lose one of the Walker, you lose Angie Walker. And then you don't, and that's a big loss. And then they basically brought in 3 brand new females
that they have to figure out,
and they have to kind of figure out what those pairings are going to be. And like the other two, I'm blanking on their names now. It's Sarah. There was Sarah DeFore and I'm blanking on her name. It starts with an A. Anyways. Because the ones from like one of those tennis backgrounds who just started playing pickleball like 4 months ago.
Oh yeah, I know what you're
apparently Sarah apparently has been playing pickleball for a while, and I think she took last year off, is what they were saying on the broadcast, but she's pretty well known around the Toronto area, is what they were saying. And it was interesting to kind of see, because like they started Sabrina on the right when she played with Sarah.
Are you talking about Jonas to here? Is it her? Or
No. This is for the females.
Oh, females. Oh,
yeah.
Natalie? Is it Natalie?
Yeah, it's Natalie, and her last name starts with a name.
Okay.
Yeah,
Araya, right?
Yes, yeah. So like Natalie, you could see she had the drives from the tennis background, and then you could see Sarah had a lot more of the soft game, but neither of them really excelled at both. Now I don't know if that was just because maybe Sarah's, like they said, Sarah like was big on the scene, and then she kind of took a year off. So I don't know if she's rusty coming back. And then
let me take a look.
And then yeah, with Natalie, she came from like the tennis background. So you could see that she had the drives and stuff, and then where she was lacking a little bit was in the soft game. So it's going to be difficult to kind of rate where I'm going to stick the Wolverines until I see another event and see how they've adapted to this high level play.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, like aside from Montreal, that's probably the second weakest women's team. Like and like Sabrina played so well that it's hard because, but if you don't have a partner who's like going to be super consistent for her, you're not going to win a lot of the women's matches anyways. Like they were basically going in, if they didn't win the men's, a lot of times they were trying to win both mixed matches to force the Dream Break.
Breaker.
Right? So it'll be interesting to see how the Wolverines do. Like, and I'm interested to see why Joelle didn't play as much. I know they announced Mike Hamilton as their coach, but he wasn't there. So I'm wondering if and it looked like Joelle was kind of coaching from the side. So I wonder if he was more focused on coaching than he was playing on the weekend. So
that could be too, because maybe Mike is waiting to go to the Western Split.
Yeah, right. So and mind you, they're not doing the Western Split till August. Like they have the Central Split in.
But the other thing is also Mike's pretty busy with the new expansion, like the Edmonton Pickleball Center.
Yeah.
So
and that makes me wonder if he's not going to be able to come out. Like, why'd you even bother getting him? Unless you're just going to be training with him, like he's more of a training coach.
In theory, Mike should be a training coach. In theory, he's really technical and stuff like that. So I'm expecting him more as a training coach more than a tactical coach.
Yeah, right. So like, yeah, so I could see maybe then like training with him when they're not playing, and then you might not see him at the events. But then that's not really a head coach. Then it'd be more of a trainer position. Yeah, I guess they're just calling it coach. We'll see if he's at any of the other events. So, and then if we move on to the Pronghorns.
Yep.
So the Pronghorns for me were interesting because they, just like some of the other teams, they were using their alternates a lot, and a lot of the games that there was a few games where they lost, where I'm pretty sure if they were to put their proper roster in, they would have won those matches. So like they still finished with a 5-4 record. And like they were the first, and like we said, Brad and Michael McCaffrey were the first men's team to beat the Montreal Lions men's team. I thought Emily and Kim Brent played really consistent. They beat the teams they should have beat, and then the teams that they were going to be in tough against, they put on a good fight against. And then a lot of those matches could have gone either way. So it's like, because basically you have, for like, if you're looking at the women's, you kind of have like the 3 top tier teams, and then you have everybody else. Right. So like, because realistically, if we're looking at it, like if we're going to rank women's teams, it'd be like the Smash, it'd be the Rollers, and then it would be the Pronghorns. So if you're ranking just the women's pairing. And then they should consistently beat the other teams, female teams. And I thought Emily and Kim Brent did that. Caitlin, when she got in, handled herself really well. I think when she was in for the 2 matches, Susan, they won one and lost one, and she took turns playing with Kim and playing with Emily. So she was giving them a break. And then same thing, Michael and Jeff did most of the rotation, but there was one match where Brad sat out, and it was Jeff and Michael playing, and they did lose that one. That was against the Brewers. Whereas when I watched that match, I think if Brad would have been in there, regardless of which guy you subbed out, I think they probably would have won that match. But yeah, like the Pronghorns are very, very steady. I like this pair. I like the 2 guys pairing with Brad. And like I said earlier, depending on which team you're playing, you could sub Jeff or
Michael in.
Depending on who you're playing. If you're looking to try and like do smothering defense, you sub Michael in. If you're looking for that kind of offense punch, then you put Jeff in, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how they play out with that, because they kind of have they got that nice kind of technical options to go with.
Yeah, and I also realized during the women's and the mixed game, the first day, Emily did not play as well as she should be. But while the tournament progresses, she did brought her level back up, especially on the second day. She was doing the right decision. She was doing the right reset. While on the first day, it was like, oh, there's a little bit more pop up that it should be, and there is some questionable decision on what she was doing. So maybe she was still figuring out what to do, and then the second day she just it kind of makes sense what she was doing.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was kind of like she was rusty, and then got the ball rolling, and then they went on that tear there. Yeah, because I think the Pronghorns, if I remember correctly, did they finish? They went
5-4.
They went 5-4, but how'd they do on the first day? I got it here.
Let's take a look.
They went 4-1 the first day, so never mind. So yeah, so they actually lost more in the second day.
Second day.
Am I reading that wrong?
Oh, it's the opposite. I'm not sure. Let's take a look.
I don't trust my notes here. Oh no, yeah. So yeah, they went 4-1 the first day, and then that means they went 1-4
on the other day.
Well, 1-3.
1-3 on the other day.
Second day, right? Now I know a few of those matches the second day went to Dream Breakers, so those are always kind of whoever just happens to play the best singles at that point wins. So So if we move on to the Brewers were an interesting enigma for me because so you had Mark Clemenson, and we already know that he's good. And then the only other kind of returning player was Reese George. Now she was brought in as a last minute alternate in the championships last year. Now she's and what her strengths were last year when they brought her in as because she came in as like an emergency replacement for why am I blanking on the other female's name? But she basically played with Christina last time, and like I thought she was very, very good at women's doubles and a very, very good mixed doubles player. But where she was definitely lacking was her singles play, and that's when they lost in the in breaker to the Rush last year. Now, so like Reese came back and she was rotating in, and she was still like when you look at the draft, she was their third female. You had Victoria DeMuzzo and Amanda Rosati. And I really noticed right away with Victoria, she loves to drive, and you could tell that like that tennis background. And they seemed to stick Victoria with Mark to kind of shield her a little bit because Mark was probably playing 80-20 with her. Now you didn't want to get into a hands battle with her, but if you dinked with her, that was where you could kind of get her to pop the ball up and stuff. But if you went in hands battle, her tennis background, like she had a very, very strong two-hand backhand. And I found anytime someone tried to speed it up with her, she would just powerhouse it back. And so like I was actually very impressed for someone who we thought was kind of an off the board pick. I was impressed with her play. There's still like issues with her game, but they were able to shield it pretty well. Having her play with Mark, who likes to take up like we said 80% of the court.
Yep.
For the women's, it was interesting because they put Amanda. They had Victoria on the left. They had Amanda on the right, and I think it was more so because of Victoria's two-handed backhands. And I think they wanted to keep her. I can't tell if she's left or right the way she swings because she's almost like Maddie Stodola, where it's hard to tell.
Yeah, exactly.
And she is right.
So awkward,
right? So I don't know if they were trying to maybe shield her backhand or something like that by sticking her on the left. Because she did everything two-handed anyways. But I thought Amanda played well, but for someone who was picked second overall by the Brewers, I thought she'd be a lot better. I thought she'd be upwards around like Casey Rogers and like Jessica Quanamoto level, where she's not that far down, but she is a bit of a step down from that. And then for the other two men, which was
Kyle and Mikhail,
and then Kyle. They both rotated between each other very well. Mikhail's definitely more of a defensive player, and then Kyle's a very offensive driven player, like lots of drives and stuff like that. So it was interesting to kind of see their rotation. And then the little caveat, and I was telling you this off camera, the little caveat I had with the Brewers with some of their wins on the weekend was some of those wins came when they had what you would consider their starting roster out, and then they were playing against the other team
alternates,
like with all their alternates. Like I think the game they beat the Pronghorns, like Brad Chapman didn't play. So I think they had Brad Chapman out, and they also had, I can't remember if it was Kim Brent or Emily out, but so they had Michael McCaffrey, Jeff, and they either had Kim or Emma with Caitlin, right? So you had two alternates in. playing against the other team's like starting four. And it still was like, and the games were still fairly close, but I think they won 3-1 or whatever it was, right? So, and I noticed one or two other matches were like that, and then there was a few matches that same thing. They went to Dream Breakers, so still that's a lot better than what we both thought they were going to do, because I think we both had them around like
pretty
seventh,
low. If I said something like
right?
that.
And it was based on with with all their females being unknown.
Yeah.
Right.
You put them as second last. I put them dead last.
Yeah. Right. So and like we said, we based that on the women's being unknown, but hey, they muscled through and they finished with that 5-4 record. So, and like Mark Clemenson went 9-1.
Yeah,
right.
Which
He only lost
pretty,
one. Yeah, so which is good. So, and I think having him playing with Victoria will allow Victoria to get more comfortable, because, like I said, he's taking a lot of the pressure off her in that mix. Right. So yeah, so that was really good. Now, if we move on to the Smash.
Yeah, that's a little bit of bummer. I would expect them to do better.
And this is coming from a diehard Maple Leafs fan, but they reminded me of the Toronto Maple Leafs this year. They couldn't put together a full performance.
No, agree.
You know what I mean? Like, now you had almost a guaranteed win with Kim and Christina in the women's. They went 8-1. Right? They only lost one match, and they realistically shouldn't have lost that match either. But it was one of those ones where it was one or two miscue errors.
Yep.
And it wasn't even against Jessica and Casey. It was against like
a
team that they
I know. I saw that. I was like,
that they shouldn't have lost to, right? So
yeah.
But so it was funny because, and then it took Nathan and Delbeer a couple games to get used to each other, because they originally started with Delbeer on the left and Nathan on the right.
It didn't.
And there were so many balls that went down the middle on them. And then they switched it and put Nathan on the left and Delbeer on the right. And I thought that made them play a lot better. And at least then they were super competitive with the other men's teams, even though there were some higher level men's teams they were stuck playing against. Right. But they still gave like a really, really good fight. It came down to the mix for them, because if you look at, so they played 9 games, 7 of those 9 games went to Dream Breakers.
So, which is pretty close.
Which is close, but that also means that you're not putting in a full performance. Because if you look at just their mixed, it was always one team would get beat and actually fairly handily get beat, and then the other team would blow out the other team, and it would rotate who it was. So you had Christina and Nathan playing together. You had Kim and Delbeer playing together. One game, Christina and Nathan would blow out the other team.
Yep.
And Nathan, then Delbeer.
Yeah, there's no like a consistency in.
Yeah, there was no consistency. Like, one team would play amazing the one match, and then they'd play not very good the next match, but then the other team would play very good.
Yeah.
Right? So they kept themselves in it every single time, because they went to the Dream Breakers 7 out of the 9 times. But like, you want to, with a team that strong, especially with the strongest female team there, and
it should be much more comfortable.
Yeah,
they should.
Yeah, so like I'm hoping that now that they've played an event together, hopefully they get some more practices together in. And then they can adapt a little bit more. Like for example, when you watch Christina and Nathan play, if you were to turn the TV on mute and just kind of be glancing at the game, the way the games looked, you'd think they were winning.
Yep.
Right? They were controlling a lot of the pace. They were controlling a lot of the shots. It was just a lot of unforced errors or miscommunication, putting it into the net and stuff like that, or putting the ball out. So I got a feeling they're gonna clean that up. And then with Kim and Delbeer, it was the same thing. They had Delbeer on the left. They did the typical male female stack with Delbeer on the left and Kim on the right. And it was very inconsistent. On day 2, they switched and had Kim on the left and
Kim on the
right. And I thought they played a lot more solid. They still lost some games, but they were in everything.
Yeah, it was closer. It was much closer.
Right? I don't know how many Ernies Kim had over the weekend once she went to that left side. Like, holy crap. Like, she's so good at timing those. And then Delbeer has very, very quick hands. And when he's on the right and teams are trying to do that battle with him, and he just has that backhand out, he's like in that fight and powering it back at them. You know what I mean? Like, so, and then the biggest thing with the day 2 is like, because they didn't bring any subs, is Delbeer's back goes stiff. And I'm sorry, when you're 6'4", 6'5", and your back goes stiff,
and
you're playing pickleball where you need to get down and low when you're at the incline,
That's not easy.
Like it's gonna bite you in the ass, right? Like so that's part of with that 4-5 record that they finished with. I know they're not probably happy with that record. Like I said, yeah, 7 of those 9 games went to Dream Breakers, but there's probably 5 of those games that shouldn't have. You know what I mean? Like they should have won 3-1 or they should have won 4-0 type of thing.
Just for some reason, I have a feeling also it's a kind of an off week for Christina because she was supposed to be performing much better than that.
And that's exactly. And that's where I came in with that, like her and Nathan making a lot of those like unforced errors. Like there was a lot of like you see Christina is so good with that forehand roll shot. I don't know how many of those she put into the net.
Yeah, she dumped a lot into the net. I was like, oh, what's going on today?
So so it was just kind of an off weekend for that. And like I said, like if they put in a full performance, they're going to be one of the hardest teams to stop. So it's just finding that consistency for that team.
Yep.
Then we go to the Rush, which had a nuclear bad weekend. 1-8.
Ouch.
They didn't bring any subs, and then Joe and Brett are a good team. The problem is they're both kind of the same player mentality wise, which is they self-destruct. And you could see it on their faces when it was happening. Like props to the cameraman because he caught it a crap ton. And it was just like they'd get down, make 1 or 2 mistakes, and both of them you could just see the look on their face. Even if they scored the point, it was almost like that, like thank God, or like it was instead of like yeah, let's go. It was more like it was almost like that look on their face, like they're putting all that the weight of the world on their shoulders, type of thing.
Yeah, they want to get off the court as quick as possible.
Exactly right. So like and with women's Sophia is a decent player, but she is a big step down from Leah Bradwell as a partner for Jordan compared to last year. Right? I know. I think she trains with Jordan, but she is a step down from Leah Bradwell. And then of course she gets injured or sick. I'm not sure. They didn't really make it clear.
No, they didn't announce.
But she wasn't available on the Sunday. Right. So then you had to bring in Haley, which is Joe's, I want to say fiance, and I apologize, Joe and Haley, if I got that wrong. But so like I said, Haley was in the Western qualifier. Didn't get drafted, but that makes her, because she was in the draft, it makes her eligible to be picked up as an alternate. However, that is a big step down for someone who's never played pro and never played like that high of a level before.
Yep.
To have to jump in, and you could see like it was like that when they were playing, like they stuck her with Joe and like they play together all the time, right, as a mixed pair. But like you could see the other teams as soon as they noticed that they were
you're gonna get
they were picking on her. It would be the equivalent of me jumping in as an alternate for someone, right? The other teams are just gonna pick on me.
They're gonna test you, right? As soon as they test you, you're not capable. That's it.
Right, exactly. Like I would stick Haley about roughly where like you and me are. Like we're sitting around like that 4.0, 4.5 level. We're not quite there yet. Like I'd say like, if we get lots of practice and lots of drills, give us like another year and we might be able to at least give a decent game to someone on that level. Type of thing, but like she's not there yet.
Even so, maybe not.
No, exactly. Right? Like exactly. It depends. Like I said, if we had the advantage of getting in as many drilling sessions as like those pro players who like being able to do that. Like we both have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
I got 2 kids who do competitive sports, so like I'm like in the wintertime I get 3 days a week for pickleball. Summertime I might get a little bit more depending on weather conditions and stuff like that. But my availability is based around work.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, but if I was able to do that as a profession, yes, I'd be able to go in and make myself a kick-ass player. And I know Haley's training like that because if you look at her and Joe's Instagram page, like she's constantly training with Joe, so she's gonna get there, but she's not there yet, and you can see it this weekend.
She's struggling, unfortunately,
right?
And just too bad they didn't bring Ava to the.
Yeah, like. But honestly,
why you drop her if you're not bringing her out?
And why didn't you bring Eugene? right?
Yeah.
As your alternate guy. Like if Brett and Joe are both, even if one of them was having like a bad game, give them a break, let them clear their head, bring Eugene in. Like that was the whole point of the alternate, right? Not just for keeping your legs fresh, but also like if you're not having like a good couple games, sub out, clear your head,
Exactly.
let the other guy come in, give a jolt of energy to the team and go from there, right? But like we said with the 3 teams that didn't make the subs, you noticed it, especially on day 2, and especially like 2 of them injuries.
Yeah, injuries are just exhaustions. There's a lot of game to be played.
Yeah, like so, like if you think about it, so you got 9 matches, so that's 18 games in each match, not counting if you go to Dreambreaker.
Mm-hmm.
So 18 games in 2 days.
That's a lot.
At pro level is a lot, right?
Well, even not pro level, that's a
Yeah,
lot.
like I know when like I go to provincials, like if I go to the finals in every single event I'm in, and if we just count A side, right? That's at least 6 matches each day. So I'm getting 18 over 3 days. You know what I mean? Whereas
crazy.
if you go on the B side, it's even more.
Well, that's what I did last year, and that's why I cramped.
Right? Exactly. I know it's tough, right? So it's like, and like, hey, it'd be awesome to have someone quickly sub in and give me a quick break and rehydrate and still have the team move on, right? So that's where I really noticed it with the Rush was like the subs should have been there. And you had a lot of green people on that team. Like, yeah, Jordan's been there, Brett's been there, but nobody else on that team has been playing like in the CNPL at the pro level. Right. So you had a lot of green. So I would have brought the alternates, at least get all those green people in and get them playing at that level, right? At least get used to it. Like even if you still finished with the same record, at least then you kind of have a better idea of what you have for the team.
Well, at least you make a good prediction. You put Rush as dead last.
Well, and that was just going off of with how green the team was, right? Like, and like we didn't find the research on Joe. Like when we did our reaction to that draft, like Joe played with Brett at nationals, and they got I think silver for one of the men's doubles events.
Yep.
Right. Like so, like we know they're a good team. Right. But like after watching that CNPL thing, you could see they really got in their own heads.
Yeah, they need to maybe brush it up or find some, maybe have Eugene come in to help out just to clear their heads a little bit.
Yeah, like like I said, have that shot of adrenaline come in, and even if it's just a change up and it's like the equivalent of you changing a paddle, get in just to mess with the other teams. Like it's not going to hurt. Like Eugene is an insanely good player, right? So it's not a drop off to bring him to give someone a break, right? So like if anything, I was going to say like a lot like their men's that are two like aside from Brett, there are 2 men's players are very very close skill wise. Like Joe and Eugene flip flopping is not like aside from style of play, but like as far as skill wise, they're very 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 even.
Yeah, just
right.
Too bad.
So
maybe they learn about the lessons this time. To get better next time.
All right, and then we come to the rollers. Honestly, like when we were picking this team, like what did I have them as? Did I have them as
rollers?
Like, yeah,
let's take a look. Give me a sec.
I want to say I better have had them high.
No, you put them 4th. I put them.
Oh no, that's top 4. No, that's good. That's not too
bad. It's still respectable.
And that's with my mulligan from Toronto United, so that bumps them up to 3 technically. Right. So we both get a mulligan with them. So we basically we bump them out of where we originally had them ranked, because I would have stuck Toronto United probably around 5th or 6th if I knew Hannah Blatt wasn't playing.
Yeah.
Right. But no, yeah, like the rollers, honestly, I can't, like they are the most steady team out of all.
They almost rode through everyone basically.
Yeah, and what it is they have probably the second best female team, and even when Jessica and Casey played Christina and Kim, it was super close. Like it wasn't like it was a blowout. Like they could beat them on a good day. Definitely. You know what I mean? But if you're just gonna go off of that, because they did lose a really bad match, I think, to the Montreal Lions women. They just did not play well, right?
Yeah, it was probably off
Yeah,
game.
it was a very off game if you go back and watch it, because they didn't have a female sub there. So Casey and Jessica played the whole time. They did have a male sub there. They had Corey, who's one of the owners, and Corey did
Yep.
sub in for 2 games to give Ryan and Maddie a break. But Maddie and Ryan played amazing together.
Yep.
Very, 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 very steady men's team. They put up a good fight against no matter which men's team they were playing. But by far, one of the Rollers' biggest attributes is their mixed pairings.
Oh, oof.
Ryan and Jessica are probably are they the best mixed team?
Probably
after that weekend. I want to say they went 8-1 as a mixed pair. Right. So like
good.
Yeah, that was like they were so steady, like very, very, they paired very, very well together. Casey paired very, very well with Maddie, and that was
Ryan, both of them went 14 and 4, so which is pretty respectable. Not even respectable, which is pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah. So if you do 8-1 together, and then you add the extra 6 games in the regulars, right? Like, but I look at that team play, and I don't really see a weakness.
Mm-hmm.
The men play very, very well together. They have very, very good defense, very, very good offense. The women's team is super strong, and their pairings. I love the fact that we called. That's what the pairings were going to be, because we said Ryan and Jessica, and we said Casey and Maddie.
Yeah.
Right. And the styles of play just mesh really well. Like we said, Casey and Maddie are going to be kind of like that powerhouse, like to speed it up at you team.
Exactly.
And that's what they do. And then Jessica and Ryan just kind of wear you down. Like if they want to go speed up, they will. But if they want to just dink the crap out of you, they will. Like props to that team. Like I watched every game. I think every game they played, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't see a weakness. Like every other team, you can kind of see a little bit of a weakness in.
Or letdown, or some like an off letdown sometimes.
If not a weakness, like an inconsistency with how they should be playing. This team was just solid the whole weekend.
Exactly.
And it showed in their final standings, like 7-2. Like and like their first loss was against the Lions. I think that was the very first match of the tournament.
Yeah.
Right. So it was like you could tell Ryan and Maddie were adjusting to like Ernesto and Luis Charles' power. Because I know they lost that one. The women won the women's, and then I think the mix. I can't remember I don't think that one went to Dreambreaker. I think the Lions won that one.
No, I don't think it did. I don't think it went to Dreambreaker.
Yeah, I think the Lions won 3-1. Right, but like after that, geez, they were just literally what their name says, rolling through everybody.
Yeah.
Right, like. So massive props to the Rollers, because like I look at that, like I look at every other team and I can see either a weakness or someone not performing up to the standards that they like from seeing them play in previous stuff. What I thought they should be playing.
Actually, Lions won 4-0.
4-0. Okay, yeah. So because that was the loss I thought they shouldn't have had. They should, like I said, they shouldn't have lost to the Montreal women's team, Casey and Jessica.
Yeah, that's the one I think.
Yeah. So that game realistically should have been 3-1 for the Lions, but Casey and Jessica just had a really bad game.
Well, it's the first game too, right? They're just still adjusting, and they like Maddie and Ryan did not lose a lot against Ernesto and Luis Charles. They just beat them by 21-20. So that's by 1 point. That was super close.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So they played amazing. Like, and like I said, I don't really see a weakness in that team. Like if I was to pick a team to keep going the way they're going, it would be them. All they have to do is keep playing the way they're playing. Everybody else, there's adjustments they need to make.
Yeah. Whereas they are doing good.
Yeah. Like they talk about meshing right off the hop for like both the men's, both the mixed teams. Like right now they'd be my pick to win the whole thing the way they're playing.
Yeah, unless others may make adjustments, right?
Yeah, so. like I could, like I said, if the Smash play to their potential, they should give them a very good fight.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And same thing, if the Lions can get their women up a little bit further to at least make a very, very good fight in the women's match, like more consistent fight. Because they did have games where they lost 21-20, but that they were very inconsistent. But like if the Lions can get their women to be a little bit more like bump up their game a little bit more, and also maybe bring in those alternates that they didn't use, so that way the men don't tire out. I could see the Lions going up higher where we had them.
Yeah.
Right.
And
like I said, the Brewers are still an enigma for me. The Pronghorns, the Pronghorns, I think same thing. Like I said, they rotated through the roster a lot, and I attribute that to some of their losses. Whereas if you're saying if we're going to championship weekend and you're sticking Brad in there, you have Kim Brent and Emily both playing to their potential, and then you're bringing in Jeff or Michael, depending on who you're playing. The Pronghorns can do a crap ton of damage with that as well, right? So
yeah, they should, because by on paper they should be pretty strong. They should be like into the top 3 strong team.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, just that weekend, they're just a little bit inconsistent from time and time. Hopefully, Sean, their manager, is going to make that adjustment. I think he will. He will definitely make that adjustment for them.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens at the next event, because now that the teams, well, most of the teams have had a look at all their players, they can kind of see, and I'll be interested to see how they match up. So, because I know like the away team inserts their roster first.
Mm-hmm.
So now home and away actually have an actual realistic advantage, unlike last year where the realistic all you were picking was the mixed matchup. Now it's like, okay, say if they're playing.
Yeah, well, because you have the alternate, right? So then you can use
so,
whatever alternate that's available. That's true.
Yeah, so if, like, for example, if you're the Pronghorns and you're playing, say, the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, and like, so if the Lions are just going to go with their same 4, it's like, okay, well, we're going to stick in Michael.
Exactly.
But then if we're playing, say, I don't know, like the Rush or something, we're going to stick in Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Right, type of thing. Like if you have that ability to make that adjustments, right? So I'm interested to see, especially at the next event, how teams are going to utilize that home and away stuff and how they're going to utilize their alternates more. I don't think it's just going to be the rotation that you saw a lot of the teams do this time. I think this was more so, okay, let's get everybody in. Let's kind of figure out who meshes with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I got a feeling next event is where you're going to see more of, you're going to start to see the upper echelon teams pull away from the lower ones.
Like the tactical change or something.
You're gonna see you're gonna see how tactical some of the teams are gonna be, and you're also gonna see more of like the top 4, what you would call the core players, play I think a little bit more next time.
Mm-hmm. And just to confirm, right? They in order to make it to playoffs, is it all team make it to playoff, or just certain teams gonna make it?
I know last year all the teams made it.
Yeah, so I don't know about this year.
I'm pretty sure they're going to do all 8. I don't know what
they're just seedings, right? That's that they will have.
Yeah, you're basically just deciding seeding. So I would, for 8 teams makes sense. Like if because you only have 8 teams in the whole league, so it makes sense to go 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7. 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. Like if you want to do a proper playoff bracket, because if you only have 7, are you going to give first place a bye?
Yeah.
Type of thing. So I think all 8 will probably make it. We'll see if I'm interested to see like also if next year if you have like expansion, if you have a couple more teams go in.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it depends on, because I know there's still some pros who aren't playing in the league, but then also depending on say if some of because I know especially with like Ryan and Amanda living in the States playing most of the time, if this bumps up their stock, so that way maybe they get signed by PPA or MLP or whatever. So you might have people graduate out, and then you're able to bring a fresh crop in every time. So if you keep having that happen, I wouldn't say an expansions would happen, but you'd want to go from 8 to 10. I don't think you just want to go to 9.
True.
Right. So you, like realistically for this, you'd say go from 8 to 10, bring in 2 new teams, and then only the top 8 make it or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's way in the future. I'm not too worried about that right now.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to add?
And I totally forgot to bring this in. So there was a two big rule changes compared to last year. So last year the games went to 15. This year the games go to 21, with the freeze happening at 20 and the second team freezing at 19. So That's a big change from last year. Also, when they do the Dream Breaker last year, each member of the team played for 5 points because you were going to 15. This
Yep.
year they're only playing 3 and they're rotating every 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the two big changes with the rules. Other than that, like I thought it was a very successful tournament. Anything like aside from like I said, the score clock on the second and third courts like the commentary thing isn't as big of a deal for me. That's just me being greedy.
Mm-hmm.
The score clock on the second and third courts, aside from that, and that's a minor glitch which probably will be fixed by the time the next event comes around.
Yep.
I thought it was very, very well done. There was instant replays, which last year they didn't even bring instant replays in until the championship series.
Mm-hmm.
So
the instant replay was on point. I did like the instant replay, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Right. So that was really good. I liked how they had the on the showcase court they had the ref mic'd up so you could hear the score verbally announced as well. I'm interested to see who they're probably going to bring in Sarah McNeil again for the games in Guelph to co-host with Cam. The Sarah McNeil's from that area. I'm interested to see who they're going to get for the Western split.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because you have a lot of local pros, I wouldn't be surprised if they get some of the owners of the Calgary Pickleball Center to maybe come in and be guest hosts and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see who they bring in for that because I don't think Sarah's going to make the flight over unless they're paying her to do it. So, but yeah, so I thought very successful weekend to start, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, it'll be fun, and in a month, actually almost a month in Guelph, right? The central split.
Yeah, central split. Yeah, July 6th and 7th.
Mm-hmm. In that athletic center, didn't do any research about that center, so we'll see how it looks like.
Yeah, from what I've spoken to Yui and Mike, that they're really happy with that center. Like they're looking forward to playing there. Apparently,
okay, nice.
Apparently, it's a really good spot. So
good for them.
Yeah,
awesome.
Jumping over to the two big, we want to call them controversies or just big news from CN from and PPA.
Is it news or is it just like
for me I was honestly laughing when I saw the Twitter.
I feel like it's gonna semi paparazzi controversy basically. Like basically, so people who doesn't know, Andre Daescu, who plays MLP and PPA and mostly APP at some point and now transitioned to PPA. He got fined by the PPA because they said they have found illegal substance on the paddle. So what happened? Let me back up a little bit. So what happened is during the MLP Atlanta, which is a couple of weeks ago, they find out because in MLP and PPA it's a little different. The referee does not check your paddle. The only thing they check is, do you have a sticker that's saying that is PPA approved, or did they or MLP approved, because they have an on-site testing over there. So every player before they play a match, they have to submit their paddles to that on-site testing. Daescu has submitted his paddle, and one of the paddle they're able to find there's like a sticky substance on there. Still no real verification that what the substance is. Most of the sources say is as pine tar, which is giving a better grip for the paddle. Usually it's used on baseball bat in order for the players to get a better grip on the bat. What the story is, Daescu said that he did not submit he submitted that paddle by mistake, is because this paddle was used by his hitting partner, and that paddle, why they put that substances on, is in order to train him to get better balls, get harder balls. So that's why they put that substance in, and that paddle was never being played or even on being on the court at any point of the matches. But however, he got fined $50,000. That's a lot in pickleball. $50,000. I don't even think anyone have won $50,000 in a year for PPA except like Ben Johns or Annalie Water, right? And then he on top of that he got 60 days suspension from MLP and PPA and a 1 year probation. I was like, that's freaking a lot. And then after that, he put a statement saying, "Oh, I did not do this. I have no intent to cheat and stuff like that. But I will accept those punishment." I was like, "It was me if I didn't do it. No freaking way I gotta accept $50,000 fine. I'm sorry." Like there's plenty of people submitting paddle and failing at their paddles. There's people in the pro level, they submit more than 10 paddles and they have all 10 paddle fail and still don't get any suspension or fine. And Diascu, just one paddle, got suspended for that and $50,000 fine. There's something shady in there. I'm sorry.
Well, one, I'm taking it as one, it's them making a statement because didn't they just bring in this new ruling body for this?
Yes, that's one.
Yeah, so making a statement so that players don't cheat. So unfortunately, you're the first one who got caught. So tough rocks, we're setting you as the example. But two, why the hell is that even in your bag if it's meant for your training partner? Why is your training partner's paddle in your bag?
Yeah, that was really
like
odd.
That's like when someone like when you have those stupid U.S. president things. Oh, did you ever smoke weed? Oh, I smoked, but I never inhaled. Type of excuse crap. Like I'm like, yeah. I'm sorry, no. Whether he ended up using it or not is regardless. You stuck it in your bag and you presented it to get tested, so that's on you.
Exactly.
For getting caught with pine tar on the paddle, like and like for all we like, he can say he was never planning on using it, but for all we know, he might have had it back in there if he was coming up to a game where it was just like, oh, I need a little bit of an extra, so you go over and switch the paddle and pull it out, and no one's the wiser.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so, like, yeah, you're accepting
Here you go.
You're accepting the punishment because you got caught.
Is $10. I just bought it from Spark Check. $10.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah. If all you got to do is type in pine tar baseball on YouTube, and you'll see a bunch of players getting ejected and stuff for having too much pine tar and stuff on the bat or pine tar on the ball, or pitchers having like resin and stuff on their hand getting ejected and stuff like that. So, but no, the reason why he's accepting the punishment is because he got caught.
Yeah, for sure.
And like, otherwise, even his little denial speech is like,
yeah, shady. Like, I'm sorry, it's shady.
I'm like, we're getting to the point where like people are already starting to juice their paddles in pickleball, and I was like, it's still fighting to be considered a legitimate pro sport. Like, yeah, you already have people complaining about players making their own line calls, which I still think at the pro level is bogus.
Mm-hmm.
Especially after watching that women's singles a couple weeks ago.
Or have you watched the one that was yesterday? And Annalie against Salome Divice. Ouch.
I don't even bother. Like I don't even bother watching her. That's Simon player play anymore, just because I get frustrated. I'm like, win on your own merit. Like, stop being a freaking cheater. Like, it's frustrating as hell. But no, I want them to get, like, I'd rather you pay extra people to come in and even just be visual line judges.
Yeah. Well, there's two arguments too, right? For this, first of all, for player to make the call, like if I'm on the heat of the battle, and let's say I'm winning 10-7, and this is the last point. In your right conscious, you will say, "Oh, I will call that ball in," but in your other conscious, you'll say, "Well, I just need to call it out, and then the game is over," right? So that's one. And second thing is, you don't like I'm the player is not focused on the line all the time, right? It's not like a line judge says I'm focused on the line at all time. So if if I'm only focused on my opponent, how they hit it, and when I'm gonna look at the ball, I'll be already too late to actually caught if the ball is hit the line or not. So I will say at the pro tour level, in order to make it more legitimate, ideally you might want to put some line judges to, or we have enough electronic system now to use them as our advantages to sort out those disagreements. So that is why in tennis now they did put that that Hawkeye system is in order to tell the player, hey, we have electronic review system, and they are super accurate. There's no other argument that you'll make saying it's a human error.
No, yeah, exactly right. So yeah, so it's just one of those things where it's I'm happy that they came down with a stiff fine, because honestly, there's a lot of pro sports that wimp out with that. So if you're going to set a precedent, make it be steep, and no one else is going to try it.
Mm-hmm. My other reason is because they lost too much money with the Yola fiasco, so they have to make it up for that money.
Oh, that too. Yeah. With Yola, all of their paddles being pulled out.
Well, which brings up my next point that currently that the PPA at Dallas right now, they're not allowing the Gen 3 to be played. They basically announced, like, I think 2 days before the tournament, the Gen 3 Yolas are not allowed to be played on the PPA. So like people were scrambling to get paddles. If you look at the current the Pickleball TV stream, well, for Ben Johns, he's happy. He's using Gen 2 anyway, so right, he doesn't really care. But all the other players is affected, right? So you like Tyson McGoffin, he cannot use his Magnus. He has to use his alphas from the Magnus Alpha. So and if you look at other player like Stats Group, he cannot use his Gen 3 Yola. So I'm thinking, is it the reason why he got beat by Chris Haywood? Maybe.
Oh, it's not. No. Anyone who says it's the paddle, that's your get your ego out of your butt. You're the reason you lost.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not giving any player. I'm not giving any player that type of leeway. Not any pro player. That'd be like Austin Matthews saying, "Oh, I didn't have my proper stick, so I can't score 60 goals now." Like, no, screw off. Shut up. It's like you weren't always playing with that paddle, so suck it up.
Yeah. So that's just my comment. And anyway, you know me, I change paddles every.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like, that'd be like you coming to me out. Say if you and me play and I beat you, but you've gone through like 4 paddles. It's like, oh, it was my paddle. I'm like, which one? Which one was it, Victor? Come on.
That's okay. I'll bring more this time. I'll bring 10 just in case, so I can alternate. I can alternate the blame.
Yeah. All right, and then we have. Oh, you had a local like kind of MLP CNPL style thing going on, Victor.
Yeah, it's a little different. The Parkland Picklehead did have a team challenge last weekend, so a little different format. So we have 6 players on the team with different skills. So it's not like they're all 4 holes. They have like some 4 holes, some 3-5, some 3-0, and some 2-5s in together. How is play is we're set up as a team. There is a set pair that we have. So me and they're all playing mixed. So me and another lady that has technically the same kind of rating or skill level that's playing, and we're always playing against the same also the same rating or skills against the other team. So there's no technically disadvantage. And then we kind of rotate every 4 points. it's one game to 21, and then it win by one, and you just need to be winning on your serve. So there is a freeze at 20, but there's no freeze for the other team that is coming from behind. So and how,
So kind of like a dream breaker, but for pairs.
kind of not really a real dream breaker. It's just one game basically. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think you're right. Like a dream breaker, like a double.
Yeah, like
breaker.
the rules around the dream breaker, but
yeah, like a double.
yeah, doubles instead of singles. Okay.
Exactly, kind of. So it kind of interesting. Our team went 3-2, which is okay because I never played with those players, so I have no idea my partner how she was playing. So that was the first match was very difficult because she unfortunately hurt her wrist, so she has a little bit difficulty actually hitting her forehand. She's hitting very good on her backhand, but she has difficulty hitting her forehand. So I was like, oh, I didn't know that. You better should let me know. So now, and also puts me as a disadvantage. Now instead of me being the alpha male on the left, I have to play right because what happened on the first match, everyone was targeting her down the line on her forehand because she cannot push that ball up, and every time she's tried to hit that ball as a pop up, and it was like I can defend a couple of ball, but still it's an overhead that I have to defend, right? So
Yeah,
that's
so,
much.
you pick her on the left, so then that way majority of the shots to her are to her backhand, so she
Yeah,
can
exactly. The center, she does not need to take it because I will use my backhand to counter in the middle. But still, then now means I need to poach everything with my backhand instead of using my forehand. So which is not as easy. But we still pull it up pretty good by doing that. And the other team players also play pretty well. Obviously, they're a different level, right? So the level plays a little different. What I so this that was kind of like a fun tournament. It's not like a very competitive tournament either. But for me, as like some of the criticism is like, because you have to rotate every four points, a skill player or a slow warming up player like me, I didn't like it. I need more point to be like more like to get the groove out of it. And especially you haven't played again with some of your partners, like 4 points and very quickly, and then you have to figure out after that on for the next 4 points, which is super difficult, right? The other thing is this format is not like a well-known format. A lot of players, even like the other teams, didn't know how it's working. They should have maybe get maybe a volunteer on the court just to keep track of the score for us, at least for the first few games. Because right now, what's happening is we have to track those scores, and sometimes that could there's a lot of disagreement. You're like, oh, it's not supposed to be like that. No, that's the rule. And then sometimes there's just basic disagreement between teams because of it. So that maybe could improve. The other thing is, I will say this format maybe is good for like a social game. It's good, but like for if you were talking about a competitive size, is not well. I won't say it's as good. Like for me, I'm very competitive. I'm very like when I play, I'm intense, right? But some of the players, they're not as intense as me, and then they're like kind of either struggling or either like say some of my opponent where I'm hitting super hard because I need to win because we're down. I need to get more points in order to get ahead, and they're just giving you the look like, why are you hitting so hard? I was like, well, that's tournament, right? What you want me to do, right?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a little weird thing for me. So yeah, I would say that's an interesting format. But those are just my little criticism. But that's okay. It's just fun.
No, yeah, it sounds like kind of a fun idea for more of a like you said, like a social thing. If you're gonna bring more competitive style players into it, though, should kind of have two different teams for that type of thing. You know what I mean? Like for like the hardcore competitives, like you and me. Like as soon as you tell me it's competition and we're keeping points, I play completely different than what I do for rec.
Exactly.
Like
They should
rec,
have just say it's a rec or just a social event, just like a rec thing. But it's like that thing is like right in between, so that becomes like a gray zone.
yeah, exactly, right. Because I know like when I play rec, like I'm still trying to make good shots, but I'm also not ISOing someone who I notice right away has a weakness. You know, I'm hitting to everyone. If anything, I'm hitting to the stronger player more on the team because I want to work on my shots and actually make sure that, hey, this is a realistic shot I can make against a strong opponent. Because if I can get away with doing some stupid stuff against a weaker opponent because they're not going to make me pay for it. But if I try to do this, say if I'm trying to work on this one particular shot and I'm playing like someone like you, if I put it in the wrong spot, you're going to make me eat it. Right. Whereas a lower level player might not have the reaction time or the knowledge of playing yet to make me pay for that shot. So then I'm thinking, oh, I can get this is a good shot. I can get away with it. Whereas realistically, no, it's not a good shot.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I kind of use rec for. I was like, okay, no, I'm working on my good shot. Like I'm going to work on shots that I want to implement in games, but they have to be good, crisp shots. So I'm more than likely going to try them out going against a higher level player than I am if I'm playing. Like say if we're doing a mixer and I'm playing against someone who's a 3-0 or even a 3-5. I know there's no point in me kind of working on this shot against them because
Probably got
I'm going to catch them out of position, whereas realistically a 4-0 or 4-5 is not going to be in that position unless I've done a really good job of moving them around the court, type of thing, right? So it's just one of those things where it's if you're going to bring all type of levels in, specify, hey guys, this is going to be a social event, so you higher level players, play kind of hard, but it to everybody type of thing. Like we're not going to go like full out keeping score, but as soon as they say, hey, this is a competition, I apologize. Anytime someone says competition, I apologize to the lower level players. Right? I'm sorry. I'm going to be hitting it hard at you.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're gonna have to deal with it.
And you some people is gonna get iced out. And I felt like during that tournament, I was getting a lot of time iced out, and I have a difficulty to poach because now I have to poach with my backhand on top of it. So anyway, maybe I need to work on
become
how to
ambidextrous.
poach. Yeah, maybe I need to work on poaching with my left hand, like Jack Monroe. That's the guy who's hitting overhead on both sides.
Yeah, I know. I've caught you and Lester with one of those before too. So
yeah, it's okay. I'll just body back you.
Yeah. Actually, you owe me a free body bag now because all three of my teams beat your team in fantasy.
Oh damn! Yeah, my team did well at the first.
The first day we were both sitting like 6-7.
Yeah, exactly. And second day just
now
went downhill.
My cheat team finished 6th overall, the one that were realistically it didn't work. But my other two teams, because I made 2 other teams, they both beat you as well. So I was like, yay.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Anyway.
Well, I also know that there was a couple, and I know they're still working the kinks out for that fantasy thing. I think there was a couple games where they had the alternates plugged in where realistically the alternates weren't playing. It was like Ernesto playing type of thing. So I think, and it's fine because if you go onto the app right now, it's still listed as live. So I think they're still sorting out
gotcha.
all that stuff. But so I thought it was really fun just keeping track of that and looking at it. So I'm hoping they work out the kinks a little bit. And I think the constant rotation of alternates in and not in. Whereas if they bring that for the CPA Pro Tour tournament this coming weekend, it'll be a lot easier to keep track of because it's the same players playing together throughout. Right,
exactly.
So it's way easier to track a regular type of tournament than it is like a CNPL style tournament where you're rotating players in and out.
Yeah, because you don't know sometimes just at that game they just like, hey, this is just my now
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
You don't
subbing that
don't know
person.
until the game
No
actually
idea.
starts, right? So
Mhm.
it's like you can't kind of pre-plug games in.
Yeah, it's not like a CPA where like, well, it's set. You lock in with that player. That's it.
Yeah. And actually, on CPA news, they just announced they partnered with a broadcasting partner for the upcoming CPA event. So, Game Plus, which is a subsidiary of Anthem Sports and Entertainment, are going to be broadcasting Championship Sunday.
Nice.
And they're actually on like your satellite or like your local TV provider.
Mm.
I have to go onto their website and find where that actually is. Now, I'm assuming it's also going to be on YouTube somewhere. I'll do some digging and find it. Because I know when I talked to Yui that he said it's going to be on YouTube, but he also said that Anthem's going to be doing like full broadcast of the championship. So I'm interested to see who they get to actually commentate and stuff for that. Because that's like actual like broadcasting company taking that. So now,
yeah, it is.
And I don't think Cam Taylor is involved with the CPA Pro Tour, so I don't think Cam's going to be doing that. Whereas he's involved with the CNPL, so he does all the commentary for that. But I don't know if Cam's involved with the CPA Pro Tour. I know Yui is the main crossover from that. So I'm interested to see how that plays out this coming weekend.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. I know Game Plus is at first they did partner with MLP before like the PPA merger, but I guess
And I think they do the Canadian Basketball League as well, the CEBL, the Canadian Elite Basketball League. I think they have those games as well.
I see.
So
that's good. We're getting
like
more exposure.
This is the first event of the first year of this thing, and they already have a broadcast partner, so that's awesome.
Definitely.
And for those of you who didn't catch the interview with Yui, that's the last podcast. He did talk about how they haven't announced the locations for the next couple of events because they want to see how this one turns out first. Because this is their first foray into having like amateurs play, like so a more like it's not just a spectator event, it's also a participation event is basically how he put it. So they want to make sure this one runs really well, and then they also have to lock down locations, right? Because unlike CNPL where you can book a place that only has 6 courts because you're only using 3 of them, for events like this, because I think they have 400 plus people registered for this event. I'm actually pulling up the brackets page right now. They have 406 people registered for this.
That's quite a bit, actually.
Right? So for 400 plus, you need about 12 to 16 courts.
That's a bare minimum if you want to run it quick.
Right. So like, and I know a lot of facilities only are sitting around 10 to like 7 to 10, 7 to 12 type of thing. So
yeah.
Now they do have their the Pickleball United has those like rollout courts. So like if they have like a spot that has all these indoor courts and then they also have like a flat parking lot, you could make like artificial outdoor courts just for the event type of thing. But then that also comes down to spacing, right? So it'll be interesting to see. I'm really excited for this one. The pro side of it looks really cool. Like I'll throw out some of the teams. Like Luis Charles is playing with Mark Gottfried. Brad Chapman is playing with E10 Blacksowicz. I know we butchered his name when we announced.
We butchered his name most of the time.
Ernesto is playing with Matt Quanamoto. Who else do we got? Joel and Haddo are playing together. So you got that. I know women's doubles. Christina and Kim are playing together. Let's see here. Jessica Quanamoto is playing with Maria Kokolitsky. That was another person who was signed by this CPA. Jordan is playing with Sophia. So that's just that's their team from the Rush. You got Reese George playing with Antonita Toskova. So like some really, really good teams. And the neat thing about these pro ones, you don't have to just be a signed pro with the CPA to sign up for this. Like there's some players in this tournament that are not signed to the CPA. So I told Irene, I said, you know what, you should find another 4.5, 5.0 lady who's not signed to the CPA, and you guys should enter in when they come west.
Yeah, but well, because you might not going to win, but at least you get exposure playing.
Oh, you get exposure, and hey, like if you can steal a couple of points from, say, if you play against, like, say, even if you play against, if you get stuck playing Christina and Kim right off the hat, if you can even make it an 11-6 match,
that's good enough,
right? Like that's good. That's a great showing, right? So like that's the neat thing about this is like it's pro, but they're not limiting it. Like there's a bunch of teams in this where the players are ranked as 3-5. Now I know a lot of those players are snowbirds who go down to the States and then come back up, and now like their rating.
Yeah, they don't have rating because
they don't have the proper rating. Like because there's like a team here that's like both players are 3-5, 3-5, right? Now
maybe their Jupiter is much higher.
Well, let's hope so. Either that or they're just gonna get destroyed. But hey, that's you paid money if you want to play in that. Like you'll be out pretty quick. So
it's okay. You just pay for the lessons, right?
Yeah, exactly right. But no, yeah. So like it looks like it's gonna be a fun tournament. So I'm looking forward to watching some of the games for that, and then we can come back either next week or the week after and do a full recap on that before we lead into some of our own tournaments coming up. So,
oh yeah, actually next weekend I have a tournament already.
You do, yeah, and actually, Irene is playing in that too because she is now a member of
St. Albert.
Yep. So she's gonna be. I think she's playing with Anya in the women's 4-5.
Oh, nice.
So
yeah, I'm stuck playing with Lester at 4-5.
Or you.
I might get destroyed, unfortunately.
Oh, you guys
Lester was gonna hate me telling him that, but anyway. Well,
I think
it's club 4-5. It's not real 4-5. It's club 4-5, right? So that's
but I think you guys will do okay at 4-5. Like I've played quite a few 4-5 guys, and I think you guys should be able to at least make it a really good match. Like I don't think you guys are gonna get pickled or anything like that. I think it'll be like depending on who you're playing, I can foresee at bare minimum at least like an 11-6, 11-7.
Yeah, it depends on who we're playing with. If we play Dewey and Sanj right off the bat, it's gonna look bad.
Hey, you guys have played them enough. You should know their moves by now. You should be able to at least get like 4 or 5 points against them.
Maybe depending on how they. I guess it depending on how much paddles I have.
I was gonna say, come on, because I know last year I played with someone who was a newbie against them, and I still managed to get 3 points on them. So you and Lester, for how much you guys play together, you should be able to at least get 5. Maybe. I'm gonna look at Pickleball. If I can't make it out to watch Irene because I wasn't able to like pre-book that off, because she asked me, I was like, oh, do you want to sign up as well? And we'll go and mix. And I was like, well, you're giving me like a week and a half notice, hun. Like I'm not gonna be able to book that off from work. So I was like, you just sign up for the club. You go play with Anya. I said, if I get it off, I'll come watch. Right, but
it's okay. If I lose early, I'll be reffing.
Yeah, get some more practice in with the reffing. But no, yeah. So it's I think you guys will have fun with that. And I'm looking forward to Irene playing in that as well and getting some practice in with Anya, because I know it's funny because her regular partner Mai is still ranked 4-5. They're not able to play together in a bunch of tournaments. Like they're playing together at provincials, and that's it.
Oh.
Because so Irene's playing with Anya in this one. She's playing with Anya in the Red Deer Open.
Okay.
And they were supposed to play together at the Parkland one, but of course no one else signed up for that, so they didn't end up playing in that one. But yeah, so that's going to be interesting. So I'm really looking forward to provincials, because it's going to provincials and actually the Red Deer Open one, because those are going to be some really fun matches looking at the teams they're going to be playing. So.
Definitely.
All right. Is that everything, Victor?
That's it. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to tune in for the CPA Pro Tour this weekend, and we'll definitely do a recap of that one.
Definitely. Thank you.